Today we are plunging into the deep ocean to discuss a true clash of titans. Megalodon, the largest shark to ever live, versus Livyatan melvillei. We will discuss their characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses to determine who would win in an epic battle between these two formidable predators. Let's get into it. Before I start, I want to say this is just my take on this topic also. I am aware that versus battles can be a bit toxic, and I respect everyone else's opinions or comments on this, so no toxicity here, people. I am just a paleo fan who loves animals for who they are. I hope you do too. Public misconception is usually misleading since people get outdated or wrong information from other people or even sources. I spend my time researching and even talking to some informative people about information for topics that are up to date, but then paleo is always changing people. Before we get into the battle, let's discuss the combatants. After, we will discuss their strengths and weaknesses with categories including size, strength, speed and mobility, stamina, intelligence and battle IQ experience, senses, durability and protection, weaponry. Then I will tell you my verdict of who would actually win in a face-off with certain scenarios. The first fighter we will discuss is the deadly toothed whale Livyatan melvillei. This killer is a genus of macroraptorial sperm whale that dates back to 9.8 to 5 million years ago during the Miocene epoch to the Pliocene. It was one of the apex predators during its time preying on other whales, fish, pinnipeds, and even large sharks. Now let's take a brief look at Livyatan's evolutionary history. Livyatan is part of the superfamily Physeteroidea, meaning it was an ancestor to the modern-day sperm whale Physeter macrocephalus. In size, the Livyatan was slightly smaller, but it depends on the sperm whales you use to compare. Also, Livyatan is very fragmentary, so sizes can be very confusing. The main difference between the modern-day sperm whale and Livyatan is that Livyatan had bigger teeth and teeth on the top jaws, while the modern-day sperm whale had only teeth on the bottom jaws and preyed on smaller prey with its smaller teeth. The earliest Physetersaurid fossils dates back to the Oligocene 25 Maya. Livyatan had two close ancestors, relatives Zygophyseter and Brygmophyseter. There are some more raptorial sperm whales like Albacetus, Physetodon, and a few other ones with some fragmentary specimens. Livyatan is the largest member of Physeteroidea and the third largest toothed whale after Percetus and the biggest sperm whales. It could possibly be bigger than the sperm whale, but we don't know exactly what the max size is yet for this animal. The holotype specimen, Miocene 1676, is based on a partially preserved 3-meter skull, teeth, and lower jaw. Livyatan is famous for having the largest teeth being 1 foot long. Now on to the next contender. Autodus megalodon is an extinct species of giant mackerel that lived 23.6 to 3.6 million years ago, from the early Miocene to Pliocene. It was the apex predator of its time. It is known from only teeth and vertebrae. The longest of the teeth was 7.48 inches. This massive shark could open its jaws 2.7 to 3.4 meters wide and was preying on just about anything it could catch, like fish, seals, other sharks, and even large whales. Now for its evolution. The meg evolved from a shark from the Cretaceous called Cretalamna that gave rise to the megasharks, including Megalodon. These sharks got to extreme proportions because of the nitrogen levels started to go up for the Autodus lineage. Some of those sharks got to the size and bigger than a killer whale. The Megalodon was somewhat a relative of the great white salmon, mako and poor beagle sharks, but were indeed Autodus sharks, and they all went extinct. Megalodon ancestors were called Autodus auriculatus, Autodus obliquus, Autodus angustidens, Autodus chubutensis, and a few others. Megalodon had no natural predators as we know of, but possibly themselves and younger ones might have been attacked by Livyatan and Autodus chubutensis, its smaller cousin that was about 13.5 meters and 31 tons. Now for the first category, we will do size. Livyatan was no joke when talking about overall size and is definitely one of the top biggest predators ever. This whale has a few estimates, but keep in mind this animal is very fragmentary. This whale is only known from skull material and isolated teeth. Typically, we could examine its modern-day or prehistoric relatives to get a variety of size estimates. The length of this animal is estimated at 13 to 17.5 meters. The 17.5 meters estimate is based on a more elongated build with a smaller head, while the lower estimates is based on a more robust build with a larger head. It depends what relative you scale it with to have an outcome of the length. Some people scaled it with the sperm whale, Zygophyseter, and Brygmophyseter. The sperm whale is likely not the best analog for Livyatan. Zygomophyseter is unreliable because zygo estimate is faulty and the vertebra doesn't get enough detail regarding individual size and their condition of the total length according to a whale expert called Cytology Hub. The original estimates put Livyatan at an unreliable 16.2 to 17.5 meters. However, Darius Now, an informative paleontologist, has said this is likely an overestimate and it would probably be around 15 meters. Brygmophyseter is definitely more accurate, so we will use this estimate. Based on this, it would have been around 15.4 meters long and weighed 50.1 tons. Obviously, if we find more remains, the size could change for sure. Now for the mega shark. There were many misconceptions of this shark's size, with some estimates of overly exaggerated claims being small to 30 tons to being massive to 200 tons. As of right now, I have a good source of Megalodon size estimates, but I should discuss an estimate recently regarding a new reconstruction of this shark. There are studies that Megalodon was more elongated than we thought, according to a paper by Stearns et al., but it is a very debatable and complicated topic. This means the Meg was even longer and heavier than before, and even increasing the size of the specimens we have. But here is the Grossel Meg size estimate using vertebrae width scaling, but this is not 100% confirmed. I should mention another elongated build by a paleo artist called Evo Incarnate has their own type of Megalodon look. It is longer and looks more like a porbeagle shark in appearance with a pointy snout. So depending on what depiction you use for this shark, the mass and length is going to change drastically on some factors. The Megalodon depiction I will be using in this video is from Jack Cooper's vision, since he is the best source for how Megalodon possibly would have looked in my opinion, since he is the most knowledgeable person on the Meg, but science and paleontology will always change here, so we will always be looking into that. Dr. Cooper is an expert of science and Megalodon. His vision was a more bulky shark with a somewhat broad snout with a robust, strong body. Fossils of the Megalodon included fragmentary teeth and postcranial regions in the vertebral column. The most up-to-date size estimates for Megalodon for the average female adult at 16 meters and 61.56 tons are based on the specimen IRSNBP 9893, which is based on multiple teeth and vertebral column using cubic law. There are exceptional specimens while scaling up isolated teeth and vertebral centra that large individuals could have reached around 20 meters and 122.5 tons based on a 2022 paper by Dr. Cooper. We also have 2 vertebral centra Denmark specimens referred to the Yellowstone hyperpredator and is thought to have been extremely massive, but soon I think there should be a paper on it, so until then, we will possibly know the sizes of these massive megs. Now for the size stat, this will have to go for the Megalodon for now, since we do have much larger and bigger size specimens and estimates here. Livyatan was 50 tons according to the most reliable data, and Megalodon on average was 61 tons, meaning it was about 11 tons heavier. And if you use the biggest megs, then the shark was over 2 times the mass of the toothed whale. Now for the next category, we have strength. Sperm whales were extremely powerful animals and robust. These whales were no joke in their power, for example. On November 20th, 1820, a whaling ship called Essex, while at sea in the southern Pacific Ocean, under the command of Captain George Pollard Jr., the ship was attacked and sunk by a massive sperm whale. It was also the inspiration for Herman Melville's Moby Dick. I am not saying a Livyatan is directly the same like a sperm whale, but since both have similar builds, we can assume this whale is stronger in similar sizes. Livyatan also did have a more raptorial build and robust body compared to the sperm whale, so it would have been definitely more powerful in parity mass. A 50-ton whale could use its head to cause massive damage and ram, like how orcas do, and just use brute force when tackling other creatures. And we should all know large whales are incredibly powerful animals. Now for the Megalodon, this shark was massive and very muscular, compared to other shark species. Modern sharks are known to damage cages and boats while ramming or biting them. Most people think sharks cannot withstand high forces when ramming or taking damage because of their so-called quote-unquote weak cartilage. There is a misconception on comparing human cartilage to shark cartilage. Shark cartilage and human cartilage are different in durability because shark cartilage tends to ossify thanks to small prisms of calcium that is formed in the certain body parts. This is known as tessellated cartilage. Also, the centra is also more mineralized than other sharks, and the lack of concentric lamellae. This means they were strong swimmers and could support its massive body weight. A 60-plus ton shark would be extremely powerful when attacking animals, and even the force alone when ambushing was enough to kill its victims. It hunted according to fossil evidence. It was able to pulverize just about anything it had in its mouth. In the strength stat, both are incredibly impressive, but size is going to play a big factor in this one, guys. So the shark will take this here since it was visually bigger and stronger than the whale with more musculature. Now for the speed and mobility category, Livyatan that I have seen doesn't have an actual speed estimate, but assuming it should be around somewhat the speed of a modern-day sperm whale. The sperm whale could cruise about 4.6 miles per hour and have burst speeds at 21 miles per hour. The body of a whale is relatively stiff, and so the animal cannot curve sinuously into a turn the way a swimming seal can. To propel itself around a corner, a whale instead relies on the lift generated by its flippers, making them pretty agile, especially for their big size. Now, in 2022, Dr. Cooper and his colleagues converted this calculation into relative cruising speed, body lengths per second, resulting in a mean absolute cruising speed of 5 kilometers per hour, 3.1 miles per hour, and a mean relative cruising speed of 0.09 body lengths per second for a 16 meters long Megalodon. This killer reached a top speed of 23.04 miles per hour in burst speed. They can make such quick turns due to their cartilage skeleton being very flexible, but probably not as quickly as other sharks because of its massive build. As for speed and mobility, the Megalodon is indeed faster if we use sperm whales as a reference for Livyatan and for mobility. This is a hard one since both could turn pretty fast. I would have to give it to Livyatan because of horizontal flukes that are muscular, flexible, and strong, allowing them to move with grace and agility. Now for stamina. Whales are known for their incredible stamina and being able to migrate long distances. Some populations appear to have different migration patterns by life history status, with adult males making long oceanographic migrations into temperate waters, whereas females and young staying in tropical waters year-round. World Map provides an approximate representation of the sperm whale's range. Also, whales seem to be able to keep at top speed much more than other animals. Now for the Megalodon, these sharks are endothermic, meaning they can exchange their body temperature to their environment. They use ram ventilation for their oxygen intake. After a big ambush, they have to regain their oxygen again before being able to do another big attack. As for stamina, I will slightly give it to the whale since it has better endurance when turning and maintaining top speed for longer periods of time, since it likely has better feed metabolic rate. Now, for intelligence and battle IQ experience. Sperm whales are quite intelligent animals and are capable of communication and forming matriarchal pods for traveling. Livyatan was more predatory than our modern-day sperm whale and also lived in a more dangerous environment with much bigger predators, so it would probably be more knowledgeable in fighting. Researchers contend that while sperm whales have bigger brains, their makeup means they might not be as smart as other marine mammals, namely the killer whale and other dolphins. Now for the shark, most would think they operate by only instinct and are just clueless fish who bite everything. They actually display more complex behaviors than most people expect. Sharks are capable of long-distance repeated migrations, complicated hunting behaviors, and exhibit social learnings and the ability to learn new behaviors by watching another of the same species do it first. Some sharks even recognize divers in their territory. Megalodon was also a great hunter with many fossil evidence showing they targeted specific areas on baleen and toothed whales, including the head and tail multiple times, meaning they know exactly how to hunt them and coordinate attacks on many different animals. Even in modern sharks, they have been observed using strategy to take down weakened giant whales like the humpback and blue whale. As for overall intelligence, the Livyatan is smarter, since whales do show more complex learning than sharks. But for battle experience, the shark takes this, since it was alive longer and appeared earlier than Livyatan. As for who is a better fighter, the whale would have better creative opportunities, since both basically lived at the same time together for 5 million years, and predatory toothed whales were more crafty than sharks in combat. But Megalodon was still an expert in killing animals, especially large whales. Now for senses. The sperm whale has a great variety of senses involving its echolocation. These whales had a spermaceti organ, and it is to add internal echo or resonator clicks to the sonar echolocation clicks emitted by the respiratory organs. Then interpret the echoes these make when they bounce back from objects. Sperm whales use their gigantic nose to produce the most powerful sounds in the animal kingdom, presumably to echolocate deep-sea prey at long ranges and possibly to stun and debilitate prey. They also communicate with it as well. Now for the Megalodon senses. Sharks have probably one of the best senses of the animal kingdom: sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. Sharks have 2 other senses, mediated by specialized receptors: electroreceptors. These receptors sit in jelly-filled sensory organs called the ampullae of Lorenzini. These tiny pores are extremely sensitive and can detect even the faintest of electrical fields, such as those generated by the Earth's geomagnetic field or muscle contractions in prey. The lateral line is responsible for alerting a shark to potential prey and predators. It's made up of a row of small pores that run all the way from the snout to the tail. Surrounding water flows through these pores, and special sensory cells sense any pressure changes. These senses make sharks in general excellent ambush predators and being undetected when prowling prey or enemies. As for senses, both animals have impressive set of them, but sharks in my eyes are more sharp since they have great reaction time and a bit more of a diversity of options it can use. Now for durability and protection. Livyatan would be quite durable as it would have a thick layer of blubber and was bulky and muscular. Also, the bones of this whale are dense and very durable and capable of withstanding high pressure when ramming things. Whales have been able to survive shark attacks, and smaller whales even survived Megalodon attacks, but they did sadly pass away from their wounds a few weeks later. But this shows that even smaller whales could take a beating from bigger predators. As for sharks, it is a misconception that shark cartilage is weak. Like I have already went over, the shark's got strong denticles on the skin. Megalodon's vertebrae is more mineralized and stronger than other sharks. Another indicator is the robust oval shape of the centra, meaning it was very durable and able to withstand heavy pressure. Now, who takes durability, you may ask? The Meg has more weak spots, and yes, that is true, and the Livyatan has better defense, but the shark is heavier and more robust than this whale, meaning it was more durable and thicker logically speaking, depending on the sizes, of course. The gills are exposed on the shark, so that would be a weakness there. Now for the final stat is weaponry. The Livyatan's bite power is likely to have been devastating as its skull was quite robust, and it had the largest teeth used for biting. It was also the most equipped whale in weaponry, even more so than the sperm whale and orca. These long teeth would have been great at piercing and crushing. We actually can get somewhat of a bite force estimate scaling from its relative zygophyseter, which, using the calculation, is about 76.000 newtons, maybe even 130,000 newtons. The whale had a massive head for ramming it could use as a weapon. Like the modern-day sperm whale, it had a sonic boom for stunning prey, but the sonic boom is exaggerated in power, since it is mostly used to attack smaller animals like squid, so using it on a Meg wouldn't really do much of anything. As for Meg's weaponry, we have deadliest bite of the animal kingdom. Megalodon had the highest bite force of any known animal in history so far, reaching a staggering 140 to 200,000 plus newtons for the larger individuals. In addition to this, Megalodon's serrated teeth would have made it extremely efficient in slicing flesh, allowing it to rip tons of chunks, while causing trauma, also the target with extreme amounts of blood loss. The Meg also can use its body to ram into its prey or enemies. As for the weaponry category, I will have to give this to the Meg since it could dish out more damage here with its bigger, wider, flexible jaws. The whale has an impressive bite but was less powerful than the Meg's. Now we got all the strengths of both creatures who would actually win in a one-on-one battle. Before I say my verdict, who do you think would win? Leave your opinions in the comments. Before I go into the verdict, we need to discuss something important before going into this discussion. Anyways, I should mention, it may seem like great white and orca seems like a fitting analogy at surface level for Livyatan and Megalodon, since the orca is a toothed whale and the great white is a big predatory shark. This is not like an orca versus great white shark at all, and there are differences. The size gap between an orca and great white. A grown average orca can weigh 6+ tons, while some of the biggest white sharks are about 2.5 tons. So this is a clear mismatch. Adult orca pods that hunt sharks do indeed target smaller white sharks as well, for obvious reasons, since it would be much safer. As for Livyatan and Megalodon, this would not have been the case since both animals are indeed fragmentary, but did have a closer size range compared to our orca and white sharks. Also, another thing we should discuss is that some people think Livyatan brought Megalodon to extinction, but this is not true since the mega shark lived longer than our Livyatan friend here, so I thought I should get that out the way as well. The last thing is I have even heard orcas have brought Meg to extinction.
Bruh.
During the time Megalodon was alive, our today's orcas didn't coexist with Megalodon, but their ancestors have, and they were much smaller than the orcas alive today and ate much different prey. They preferred soft-bodied smaller animals and didn't have the capability of taking down animals like Livyatan or other bigger whales or animals. Also, the Megalodon had even higher trophic levels than any other marine predator that has ever lived by a big margin that we know of, because of the higher isotopes in nitrogen of the Meg's teeth. Even the Meg's prey had higher trophic levels than any other marine predator living today, including our extant orcas. As for Livyatan, sadly, no studies have been made in the trophic level yet, but I would assume it would be probably lower than the sharks, since it is a smaller predator. As for a today comparison for Meg versus Livyatan, there isn't none since no shark or toothed whale today were similar sized and hunted each other, but only one uninformed report of a great white attacking and killing a false killer whale. Also, one more thing we need to discuss as well. It is also a debated topic that Megalodon only lived with smaller whales, so it automatically means it could not attack bigger whales than itself, some people like to say. This doesn't mean anything, or limit its capabilities regardless if it actually did live with only smaller whales. We do know this shark was more than capable of taking down bigger animals because of its jaw anatomy and bite, and we also have a study showing Megalodon is indeed 100% capable, causing critical harm to giant whales, like fin or blue whales according to this study by Steve. We also might have bigger whales in the Miocene like this specific specimen who is closer in size to a Meg, so Livyatan wasn't the only biggest whale during the Miocene. I even have more sources of more whales, but they are too fragmentary right now. Okay, now I will tell you my verdict of who would actually win in a battle, but I would like to hear your verdict as well in the comments if you would like. Now I will be doing 3 scenarios in my battle here. The first fight will be both animals at the same weight, so 50-ton Livyatan versus a 50-ton Megalodon. The second fight will be at average sizes, so a 50-ton whale versus a 61-ton Megalodon. The final fight will be the max sizes for both, with the biggest specimens we have, so a 50-ton whale versus a 122-ton shark. So at a parity matchup, both animals don't have any size advantages, so we have to look at how they would have interacted. The whale, I would assume if both are facing off for territory, they will clash. The whale and shark obviously wouldn't want to risk fighting each other, but this is our hypothetical battle here. The whale is smart and cunning, and could use rams and try to keep distance from the massive jaws of the shark. Livyatan did have a nasty bite of its own, and could bite the fins or try to get the other parts of the shark's body, but Meg's jaws are more effective. The Livyatan can also target the gills of the Meg, but it would be very difficult since the shark could counter with a bite or attack of its own. We do know that this shark is an expert on killing whales and toothed ones, of course, but Livyatan, in my opinion, has an even chance at winning at similar mass, since it could use its massive jaws and ramming power to possibly give it an edge. But for this to even work, the whale would need lots of momentum, and getting this momentum will take time and will give the shark an opportunity to attack. And the Meg was slightly faster than the Livyatan and could just chase it before the whale has enough momentum to slam it with its head. The shark could use its superior speed and bite force to get a bite in and cause severe injury to the whale. The rams will help, but it won't be enough to take down a similar-sized foe in my view. Obviously, if this was an ambush battle, whoever gets the first go at each other is going to win. In a same weight matchup, I will give it a 50-50 chance for both to come out on top, so we have a tie. But if I had to pick one, the shark just has a better killing opportunity because of its more massive and flexible jaws. As for the second matchup, we got average sizes. It is not looking good for our Livyatan here since Buddy is already at a size disadvantage. Megalodon does have a strength advantage, and it was more powerful and more formidable because of that. We also have a big factor here, and clue why this shark would win more times than not at this mass. Fossil evidence suggests these raptorial sperm whales, possibly being 14 meters and 40 tons on how you scale these fossils, have meg bite marks indicating these are attacks attempts. The shark can use its stealth or just brute force to take down the whale here. Ramming will help the whale, but it is not going to keep the shark down for long though, since the size difference. The jaws could cause massive blood loss and trauma to the whale here. A few good bites or one good critical one and Livyatan is going to be on the meg's kill count. At average hypothetical Livyatan size and meg average size, I got Megalodon winning 65-70% of the time, maybe even 70-80% of the time, mostly because of size advantage. Now for the final matchup, and most unfair. We have the max sizes. Our whale is basically just another prey item for the Megalodon here, and would definitely be eaten 100% because we have fossil evidence showing Meg would have hunted animals significantly smaller than it for certain, and the shark was more than 2 times the mass of Livyatan here. This whale can't really do much but run away sadly. For max size matchup, the shark will indeed win just about 100% of the time here. Livyatan wouldn't have the weaponry nor strength to take down such a massive specimen. Also, if the Denmark specimens of the Megalodon are indeed much bigger than we thought, then this wouldn't even be close to fair at all. Livyatan is still a fragmentary animal, and sizes could change in the future. So who would win in a fight? It depends what sizes and scenarios you put the animals in and just how you face them off. But that is my verdict, and Megalodon is just simply the more powerful and bigger predator here in a paleontology standpoint, according to our specimens we do have and estimates. Well, that will wrap it up here, and make sure to check out the artist mentioned and people I credited in the subscription. Anyways, who do you think will win? This video is just for entertainment and sharing different opinions, and I do respect other people, so don't be afraid to speak your mind. Just be respectful. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more content. If you do like more versus videos, I did a video on Megalodon versus the modern-day sperm whale if you would want to check it out. If you have any more suggestions, let me know and take care.
Smoking on the split foot, I burn up the booth. Drop the top, ain't no roof. Heard he talk, but don't shoot. Ho, start down on my name and talk behind my back. But I just